Salvation sounds a new beginning. As distant hearts begin believing, redemption's speed is unrelenting. Your love goes on. Your love goes on. Carry us when the world gives way. Gather us with your endless grace. Your love is without us. 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 The time is up for chasing shadows. You gave the world the light to follow, a hope that shines beyond tomorrow. Your love goes on. Your love goes on. Carry us when the world gives way. Gather us with your endless grace. Your love is without us. 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 Tearing through the veil of darkness, breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest heart, you gave your life for all to see. Tearing through the veil of darkness, breaking every chain, you set us free. Fighting for the furthest heart, you gave your life. Your love is without us. 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 Your love is without us.
It's one of the things that we've been doing over the past, I think I started it like 4 or 5 weeks ago, is we've been taking the opportunity to say the Lord's Prayer together on Sunday mornings. I've been thinking about how easy it is for us to lose sight of what those sort of simple core things of what it means to be a follower of Jesus are. And for some of us who grew up, as age as us, who grew up saying this every morning at school, sometimes that repetition, it just sort of became this thing that you said and you lose track of what's in it. And so I like reminding us again of the power of this prayer. And so why don't we all say that together this morning? Our Father in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And do not lead us into temptation, but deliver us from the evil one. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever. Amen. Just a second. totally ready.
I was walking the wayside, lost on a lonely road. I was chasing the highlight, trying to satisfy my soul. All the lies I believed in left me crying like the rain. Then I saw lightning from heaven, and I've never been the same. I'm gonna climb a mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I'm a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I'm a child of love. I felt the sting of the fire, but I saw you in the flames. Just when I thought it was over, you broke me out of grave. I'm gonna climb the mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I'm a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I'm a child of love. Oh, I'm a child of love. Yeah. Oh, I'm a child of love. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. Nothing can change the way you love me. Nothing can change the way I belong to you. Yes, I do. Nothing can separate. I'm gonna climb a mountain. I'm a child of love. I found a world of freedom. I'm a child of love. I'm gonna climb the mountain, I'm gonna shout about it. I'm a child of love. I found a world of freedom, I found a friend in Jesus. I'm a child of love. I'm a child of love. You got played.
I'm always looking for a place to use the cowbell sound. You know, always need more cowbell. Oh, I know. Kent has so much power. Kent has so much power. The sound man is definitely the most powerful person in any. And lighting, apparently. Sorry, Mike. Anyway, this morning's joke. I chose this morning's joke because the last time everybody liked Rob's Yoda joke more than mine. the joke that I had chosen that morning. So I got another Yoda joke for you. What did Yoda say after the first time he saw himself on a 4K television? HDMI. Anyways, marvelous. Announcements for this week. Is anything 5:30 on Wednesdays for youth group at the Morgan's place? For now, we are obviously, I was going to say chasing. No, we are inevitably the winter will come, and so we are trying to figure out options for youth in some COVID-friendly way, because, well, that's just life these days. So we're going to figure that out, and so stay tuned. Stay tuned for announcements to come. Anyways, but 5:30 at the Morgans on Wednesday for those in youth. We are still looking for help in tech and in childcare. And so if you're interested in helping out in any of these ways, and even with the worship team, we could just use help. If you have skills that you would like to use here at Vox, we would love your help.
Especially drummers.
Yeah, apparently drummers. Drummers would be good. Yeah, we could actually use drummers. We're down really to two, myself and Timothy, and yeah. So, anyways, if you have any skills that have nothing to do with church, let me know. We'll just make up a way, and we'll use them at church on a Sunday morning. It'll be exciting. Anyways, I got so distracted by all of that. I was so excited by the cowbell that I lost track. Birthdays this week. Christina McBean's birthday, Maya and Riel's birthday, the Manganep twins. Jen Paz's birthday, I think Paz is how you say her last name, was her birthday. I'm trying to think, there's somebody else. Who else was it? Can't remember. Somebody? Rob is losing his mind up in the booth, in case you're wondering. It is Rob Pinch's actual birthday this past week. So we can sing happy birthday. Oh my goodness, there's a lot of people. Anybody else I missed? I'm not on Facebook. Anybody on Facebook at the moment watching that? No? Okay. So what do we say? Christina, Maya, Riel, Jen, Rob. Christina, Maya, Riel, Jen, Rob. I'm ready. It's going to be good. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Christina, Jen, Maya, Riel, Rob, and maybe some other people. Happy birthday to you. And many more. Anyways, that was exciting. That was fun. Rob is an entire decade older than I am. That's really not matter. I just like pointing that out. So we are going to take, one of the things we like to try to do is have a bit of a break for 10 minutes because we think the community is an equal important part. Also, so Rob can come down and yell at me. We think the community is an equal important part of church, and so we make it not only something we do, but part of our service. So we're going to take a break for about 10 minutes. It's a great opportunity to connect and chat, of course, in a COVID-friendly way for all those watching on the internet. And we will get started again shortly.
to begin. Come find your mercy, O sinner, come kneel. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wonder, come home. You're not too far. So lay down your head, lay down your heart, come as you are. There's hope for the hopeless and all those who strayed. Come sit at the table, come taste your grace. There's rest for the weary, rest that endures. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can cure. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Oh, wonder, come home. You're not too far. Lay down your head, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are, from His arms, come as you are. There's joy for the morning, oh sinner, be still. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. Earth has no sorrow that heaven can't heal. So lay down your burdens, lay down your shame. All who are broken, lift up your face. Hold and come home. You're not too far. So lay down your head, lay down your heart, come as you are, come as you are, come as you are. I've carried a burden for too long on my own. I wasn't created to bear it alone. I hear your invitation to let it your Son for redemption, the price for my heart. I don't have a contest for that kind of love. I don't understand, I can't comprehend. All I know is I need you. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the high, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, again and again and again and again. Oh, again and again. My heart has been in your sight long before my first breath. Running into your arms is running to life from death. And I feel this rush deep in my chest. Your mercy is calling out, just as I am. You pull me in, and I know I need you now. I run to the Father, I fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart needs a surgeon, my soul needs a friend. So I'll run to the Father again and again. I'll run to the Father, fall into grace. I'm done with the hiding, no reason to wait. My heart found a treasure, my soul found a friend. So I'll run to the Father again and again and again and again. Oh, oh, again and again and again and again. Oh, again and again and again and again. Again and again and again and again. Again and again and again and again.
That was the trailer for the message, right? That's a teaser trailer. That's like before the real trailer.
By grace alone, somehow I stand, where even angels fear to tread, invited by redeeming love, before the throne of God above. He pulls me close with nail-scarred hands into his arms. when Satan tempts me to despair. I hear the voice that scatters fear. Oh, the great I am, the Lord is here. Oh, praise the one who fights for me and shields my soul eternally. Boldly I approach your throne. Blameless now I'm running home. By your blood I come, welcomed as your into the arms of majesty. Behold the bright and risen sun, more beauty than this world has known. I'm face to face with love himself. His perfect spotless righteousness. Oh, a thousand years, a thousand tongues are not enough to sing his praise. And not enough, holy I approach your throne. Blameless now I'm running home. By your blood I come, welcomed as your own into the arms of majesty. Boldly I approach your throne. Blameless now I'm running home. By your blood I come, welcomed as your own into the arms of majesty. Into your This is the art of celebration, knowing we're free from condemnation. Oh, praise the one who made an end to all my sin. This is the art of salvation, knowing we're free from condemnation. Oh, praise the one who made an end to all my sin. Boldly I approach your throne. Blameless now I'm running home. By your blood I come, welcomed as your own into the arms of majesty.
Roy is going to come and speak to us
Yeah.
now.
Now you can preach, Roy. Yeah.
It's your turn now, Roy.
Are you sure?
Yeah, right now.
You're not
No.
teasing me?
No, right?
That's good. I'm like all about trying to steal everybody's thunder because that's how I roll. Now we're gonna have technical difficulties. Just watch, it'll be funny. Oh, it didn't work. It worked. It worked. Last time I preached up here a couple weeks back, we had all of the technical difficulties. Like every technical difficulty that we could have, we had. It was awesome. And the worst part is I don't know how to use half of the Apple stuff that's up there, so I had no clue what was going on. Which is, it's kind of funny because it fits really well with today's message. So, Rob, can you go to the next slide for me? This is a picture of a booster pump. Yeah, Provac. That's a company from the States that actually services these things. I fix this stuff at my shop here in Barrie. I'm one of the only guys in Canada that actually does it. So what this does is it actually works like a booster in a car, like a turbo in a car where it forces air in, right? And so how do I explain it the easy way? So I fix high vacuum equipment, right? So the idea is it's not like HVAC or like a vacuum cleaner or anything like that. You're trying to remove as much air out of a chamber or something like that as possible, right? And you want to do it quick. It can't be 3 days to get it done, so you use one of these to force as much air in as possible. Rob, go to this, there. See, this is so cool. Like, oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how cool it is. So you have, at this end over here, it's hard to tell, but you have like these gears, right? And the gears have to be timed because in the middle, you see these two things that look like a figure eight. If those things are spinning at like 3,800 RPM, each one of them weighs 100 pounds, and they can't hit each other. And the distance between the two things spinning is less than a piece of paper, right? So it's like 3,000ths of an inch. It's cool, it's super cool. So it all has to be timed, then it all has to be sealed with valves or seals and valves and stuff like that. Rob, go to the next slide. Yeah, so this thing here that looks like a fan in the middle, that whole system is called a hydrokinetic drive. Super rad, right? Like fancy words and stuff, super rad. So what happens is as the pressure goes down, there's nothing actually tying everything together and holding it together. Like there's no gear or anything like that that holds it together between the motor and the pump, right? So what happens, as the pressure goes down, these two circle pieces here with the fan, they don't touch. They're not attached, but they fit over top of each other. And when the pressure drops down, they like tighten onto each other and the thing starts to spin. Super freaking cool, super cool. So I'm one of only maybe 3 guys in Canada that can actually fix this thing, right? And they're big. It's a big, huge pump. It's like from that side of the stage to probably about here, right? Now for me, that's big because I don't usually work on big stuff like that. So I've got a couple of these that come in maybe once a year, twice a year. And often I have to get some help to fix them because it's just heavy to get them moved around and everything. But yeah, it's super rad. So as you can imagine, I'm fairly mechanically inclined, right? I do a lot of like really fancy stuff like this. So go to the next slide for me. That's a tree stand that took me almost 7 hours to build. Okay, that's my wife sitting up in there. She trusts that I'm mechanically inclined and capable of putting something together won't fall apart. I did read the instructions, right? So it comes with these amazing instructions, okay? So you can see with the previous slide there, I run off of schematics. I know how to read schematics and make things work. So when I got, the instructions are so bad that when I was putting this message together, I was like, I'm gonna put the instructions up there. There's no real instructions, right? So I pull this thing apart and I've got all of the pieces laid out on a bench and the back of my truck and the ground, right? And I'm looking at the bolts and the bolt says it's supposed to be like 1.25 inches thick or long, right? And I'm like, there's no way that's 1.25 inches. So I start measuring things up. None of the bolts are the same size as what they say they are in the instructions. None of them, right? So then I put this whole thing together, 7 hours, I get it all together, and it's like, well, this doesn't fit. Oh man, because it's upside down. So I gotta take the whole thing apart, put it back together, right? I get it all together, and I've got pieces left over. And I'm standing there and I'm looking at this going, what? So I'm looking through the schematics, right? And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, this piece isn't even on the schematics. I had 2 different tree stands in the same box wrapped up from the factory and half of the pieces didn't match. Fortunately, I had enough to build it. right? So my wife was like, hey, you know what you should do? You should call the company and tell them that you're missing parts and maybe you can get a second tree stand for free. I was like, hey, that's a good idea. But Jesus said, no, I'm not allowed to do that because it's immoral, right? So, yeah, right? So when I got it all together and we got it up there, I'm super proud of myself, right? Because I put a tree stand together that should have taken an hour and a half, and it took me 7 hours, but I can build that other thing in half the time, right? With all those pieces and stuff. The tree stand, the instructions, it just blew me away. It just, it drove me nuts, right? So, like I said, none of the bolts fit, none of the things worked, none of the things that were supposed to happen happened the way that it happened. It was almost like they made the instructions difficult so that you had to hire somebody to put it together for you from their company, right? No, companies don't do that kind of stuff, right? I'm pretty sure IKEA even has a whole division of people that will put stuff together for you. If you want to spend an extra $750, we will install it for you, right? And it's because they make it complicated. So this week, we're back in the Gospel of John, and one of the things that I like about the Gospel of John is it's really super simple to read, right? It's unlike the instructions for that other thing, right, or even the thing that I build. John is really uncomplicated. It's really approachable. The teachings, most of them are really about real life practical kind of things, right? And usually if I'm telling people which book they should go and read first, if a new Christian comes to me and is like, hey, I want to know, what to read, where should I start in the Bible? There's all these books in here. Which ones are good? I'm like, don't read Revelations first. Don't read Leviticus ever. And don't read Ecclesiastes. Start in John, because John kind of reads like a graphic novel, right? So John is interesting because we have 4 Gospels, right? And John is not one of what's called the Synoptic Gospels. It's actually quite a bit different than Matthew, Mark, and Luke. So there's some discussions about why Matthew, Mark, and Luke are very similar. There are a lot of crossover events, whereas John's kind of yeah, but this other thing happened too that was really cool, and I want you to know about it. Right? And that's one of my favorite things. So today, where are we here? No, hold on a second. John, this is a really good example right now, for instance, of how simple John is to read, right? John 1:1, it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. That's simple, right? That's not complicated. The beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. What about this one? This one everybody should know. This is John 3:16. Read it with me just for the fun of it. It'll be fun, okay? For God so loved the world that he gave his one and only Son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish, but have eternal life. That's one that people they get tattooed somewhere on themselves, or they have a needle point hanging up on the wall. I'm just trying to cover all of the ranges of people that are here. Some people have tattoos, some people do needle point, some people do both. So the point is that they're memorable passages, right? They're easy to read. They're ones that people memorize. They're ones that people want to make sure that they know, right? It's actually one of the, John 3:16 is one of the ones that they, when I was getting my licensing, they were like, do you know this one? Yeah, I know that one because Nathan told me I had to memorize it. I didn't grow up in church, so I had no clue. I didn't know that was hey, this is a really good passage. I didn't know that it was one that everybody memorizes and knows, right? So another passage today, we're talking about the time that Jesus was in the temple, showed up at the temple and drove everybody out with a whip and flipped tables and stuff, which is totally my kind of guy. So we're in John 2:13-22. Jesus clears the temple court. When it was almost time for the Jewish Passover, Jesus went up to Jerusalem. In the temple courts, he found people selling cattle, sheep, and doves, and others sitting at a table exchanging money. So he made a whip out of cord, because that's what Jesus does, right? And drove all of them from the temple courts, both sheep and cattle, and he scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. To those who sold the doves, he said, get these out of here. Stop turning my Father's house into a market. And his disciples remembered that it was written, zeal for your house will consume me. So there's a lot of stuff going on in there. There's like cattle and sheeps and doves, and there's money changers, all of this crazy stuff that's happening in the temple. It's not something like, we used to go to an Anglican church, and every year they did like a blessing of the pets. That was the only time there was ever cattle in the church, right? We always had, some neighbor always brought their horse up to the front of the church, which was always fun. So it's like this country church, and you're sitting there, and all of a sudden the horse is walking up. And I think we were there for about 5 years, and only once the horse pooped in the middle as he was walking up. It was hilarious. I felt so bad because the whole place smelled horrible after, because it was carpet, right? It was lots of fun. Oh my goodness, it was. I thought it was hilarious. Nobody else thought it was hilarious. But like, it's a weird place to have cattle, right? Or horses or sheep or anything like that. Why would you have that in the temple, in your church? Well, there's a reason. So you had these things because a lot of Jewish people were coming from faraway places. Maybe they didn't bring a sacrifice with them to sacrifice in the temple. So you could go in there and you could exchange money, and you could buy a sacrifice. And they even had like the doves, because a lot of people were very poor. So they were like, okay, well, we can sell you a dove, and for your sacrifice, right? Because that's what you do in church, right? That's weird. So, and then it goes on to say in 18, it says, the Jews then responded to him, "What sign can you show us to prove your authority to do this?" So Jesus comes in. The guys are exchanging money into probably Roman coins so that they could buy sheep or cattle or a dove if they could not afford the other two, so that they could do a sacrifice. And Jesus drives everybody out and starts beating people, flipping tables over, and running the cattle out. Can you imagine Jesus running after some goat or something, or probably not a goat because reasons, but a cow out of the temple, right? The Jews that were there would have lost their minds. Like, that would have just been absolutely crazy to have this guy come walking in and start throwing everybody out. Okay? These are just regular everyday people. It's not like we're talking about, the Jewish leaders or anything asking what his authority was. It's us standing in here going, why did you do that? What gives you the right to do this? Because we have to sacrifice. This is something that's really important to us. And Jesus answered them, "Destroy this temple, and I will raise it again in 3 days." So Jesus' response to the Jews freaking out about him destroying their sacred right to provide sacrifice to God, their real only connection with God, right? Jesus' response is, "Well, destroy this temple and I'll raise it again in 3 days." And they replied, "It has taken 46 years to build this temple, and you're going to raise it in 3 days?" I cannot imagine what it must have felt like to be a Hebrew there, a Jewish person there, ready to sacrifice to your God, and have this guy walking in, have Jesus walking in, drive everybody out, flip everything over, literally flip it on its head, and have them standing there going, "I can't believe this just happened." Because there also were Roman soldiers that would have been watching this, because they would have been like that. This whole thing is just insane. Can you imagine what that would be like today? Like, I went to the bank at the beginning of COVID, and I had a bandana on, and the guy behind the counter looked at me, and he had this weird look in his eyes, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I look like a bank robber," right? Like, so that was weird. This is absolute insanity. Everybody would have been losing their mind in here, right? But they didn't realize that, 21 it says, "But the temple he had spoken of was his body. And after he was raised from the dead, his disciples recalled what he had said. Then they believed the scripture and the words that Jesus had spoken." See, before Jesus, your relationship was directly connected to your opportunity to sacrifice to the temple, right? And only the Jewish leader would be able to walk in like once a year into the Holy of Holies and pray, right? And then he would have to leave. once a year. Like, can you imagine if today's church made it that difficult to connect with God? Right? Like if we made it so hard for people to come to church on Sunday morning, right? To be near to God, that people couldn't do it. And even then, like, can you imagine if we charged admission at the door? Like, churches don't do that, do they? I can't imagine if we did that today. That's just, it's craziness. I just cannot imagine. See, we love building barriers to people meeting Jesus. We love creating difficulties for people to come and meet Jesus, right? Like I often, when I'm talking with people, I often talk about the fact that I want to always walk over and open the door up and lock it open. Because we come in here on a Sunday morning to be in communion and to meet Jesus and to understand more about Jesus, and then we close the door behind us. We even had a couple young girls who were coming to the loft. The door was closed, and they knocked first on the door. And I was like, man. And I'm talking about the fact that people had to pay to worship God in the temple in Jerusalem. It's crazy. Is there, for you guys, I wish I had brought my phone over here so I could see what was going on online. Maybe somebody, if they're watching, can tell me if anybody comments. But is there anything that has kept you away from the church? Is there anything in your life where you were like, I can't go there? Honestly, I'm asking. Is there anything that you were like, no? Miriam? I'm sorry? Okay, so Miriam is in the back of the church, and she is in a wheelchair, and she's saying that some churches have a step and no ramp to get in, so they can't even let people come in. And you're not going to believe this, someone just knocked on the door. And we just invited them in. That's fun. They're probably here for the loft, but come see Jesus anyways. Now they think there's some weird old guy up on the stage telling me to come meet Jesus. That's not cliche. But is there anything else? Like be honest. I know for me, like the thing that I hear in a lot of my circles is like, oh, I can't go to church. I'll catch on fire. Or, God's going to strike me dead with lightning. Right? I know my daughter has talked. She is in a bunch of groups online and such that are supporting LGBTQ people. And they're always blown away that when she tells them that I'm her dad and I'm a pastor, because they're like, really? And he lets you live at your house? And that makes me cry. So what kind of world do we live in where we want to close the door and not let people meet Jesus? Was there any comments on the Facebook page? No? I know you all are lying, because I know that you've had reasons why you didn't want to come to church. I know, because I've talked to some of you too. I know. Happy music? Does that make you want to come or not come? It doesn't make, yeah, I know, because it's a lie sometimes, right? Happy music is a barrier for some people, because you know what? Sometimes it's just crappy. It just sucks. Yeah, so Christina said that she had to get her crap together, get her life together before she could be part of the church. Can you imagine that? I have to have it all figured out before I can go to church? Well, I'm screwed. I'm leaving now. I quit, Nathan, I quit. I'm done. I quit. He's like, what's happening? I wasn't paying attention. But it's true, right? Like, when my dad came, the first time he came to church here many, many years ago, the first time I was preaching, he says, do I have to wear a tie? And I'm like, no, why? He says, because I don't know how to tie a tie. He's like, I don't know if I can, do I have to, like, we're all pretty big guys and trying to find dress shirts that fit properly are a thing. And he was terrified that he couldn't come or he would stand out because he didn't have a dress shirt that fit or a tie that fit. That's crazy. That's crazy to me. What are we doing? There's this interesting thing in the three synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke. We hear about this this veil that goes between the high priest and the Holy of Holies. Do you know what I'm talking about? Have you heard about this veil, this curtain that separates the high priest from the Holy of Holies, right? So we hear in Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Matthew 27:51, it says, at that moment, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth shook and the rocks split. It was the moment that Jesus died on the cross. The moment that Jesus died on the cross, the veil split and there was no more barrier. Mark 15:36 puts it like this. It says, the curtain of the temple was torn in two from top to bottom. And Luke 23:45 says, the sun stopped shining and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. How much clearer does it need to be that Jesus is like, no more barriers? No more barriers to meeting Jesus. No more barriers to knowing God. We're going to tear the veil in two. This veil turned into an opportunity to create business and market and capitalism. It was an opportunity to some extent. It was an opportunity for people to make money, and people did make money. And that's why back early on, where is it? It says, and he scattered the coins of the money changers and overturned their tables. That is so huge to think about, right? Like, Jesus is so mad that they created this system of exclusion that he flipped it all out and he threw it all across the way, drove everybody out of there. And then later on at his death, the veil was torn, and now everybody has access to God equally. We don't have to go through the temple anymore like we used to. We don't have to go and sacrifice at the temple anymore like we used to. We don't have to go in and spend our money that we didn't have because we're being taxed by the Romans by 85-90%. And we go in there and we have our measly dove that we just paid a nickel for because that's all we can afford. And that's the only way that we can sacrifice to God and be connected with God. But we don't do that now, right? I got lucky this week when I was doing this. I don't usually, lately I haven't had time because we've been moving, so I haven't had time to do the research that I like to do for a message. But this week, I started 2 weeks ago on this. I had a little bit of extra time, and I read the passage, and I was able to let it sit. And then I was able to go back to it. And as I was doing my research, I came across, I use this Logos Bible software, and it gives you like suggestions for other passages to go to. And I don't usually look at them, or I'll just glance past them really quick. But I think my wife and I were sitting on the couch watching TV, and I think we were watching Dexter, actually. And she's never seen it before. I kind of like Dexter. I think it's a cool show. But I'm reading through this, and I found this passage in Hebrews, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's perfect. It's so perfect. And I hope my wife was looking at me like I got two heads or something, right? She's like, what's perfect? And I'm like, I got to pause the show, right? So I pause the show, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is so amazing. And I read it to her, and she's like, and? Okay. I'm like, yeah, but it connects like this. If you do this, this, and this, and this, and this, and then when you match it up with this, and this, and this, it's totally perfect. It said, like, I couldn't write it myself and make it that perfect. And she's like, yeah, I guess it's pretty good. Like, no, you don't understand. This is so exciting. That's why I was like cutting Aaron off, and I'm like, I gotta tell you this because it's so awesome. Hebrews 10:19-25, it says, so friends, I went through the NIV and I went through the CEB, And when I read it in the Message, Eugene Peterson's paraphrased the Message, I was like, oh, it's even better. It's even better. It said, so friends, we can now without hesitation walk right up to God in the holy place. Jesus has cleared the way by the blood of his sacrifice, acting as our priest before God. The curtain into God's presence is his body. That's perfect. It's perfect. Do you get it? Why are you not excited like me? I couldn't have wrote this better. It's amazing. Look, so friends, we can now without hesitation walk right up to God into the holy place because the veil's torn. We have access directly to God. No more going through the temple courts. No more having to, pay our way to sacrifice and worship our God anymore. We have it right through Jesus. It's so exciting. And then it goes on. It gets better. But wait, there's more. 22 through 25, it says, so let's do it full of belief, confident that we're presentable inside and out. Stop right there. Presentable inside and out. No tie, no shirt. You don't need, you probably should wear a shirt. Some of us should definitely wear a shirt. COVID has not been friendly to me. I used to not look like this. I shouldn't say anything. I'm not going to toot my horn or anything, but I was good looking guy. Anyways, so it says, let's keep a firm grip on the promise to keep us going. He always keeps his word. Let's see how inventive we can be in encouraging love. How inventive we can be in encouraging love. That's perfect. That's perfect. Come on in, we're talking about Jesus. If you want to walk through, you can walk through, dear. It's okay. Not a problem. It's perfect timing. It was just getting exciting, too. Then next, the sparkles are coming out, and the Mike had a bubble thing that worked a while back. Oh, it was awesome. Right? I was wearing a kilt up here, and Mike turned the bubble thing on. Oh. I was so excited. Have fun. Okay, so where was I? Okay. Holy squirrel moment. He always keeps his word. Let's see how inventive we can be in encouraging love and helping out, not avoiding worshiping together. COVID, we've got to be careful. There are rules. As some do, but spurring each other on. Let's be inventive. Let's be inventive in doing this, in meeting Jesus and getting people to meet Jesus and encouraging people to meet Jesus. How inventive can we make it? We're pretty inventive here at Vox. Sometimes we don't even know what the heck's going on. Right? Some of us apparently are not paying attention, and it was my time to speak, and Aaron wanted to speak, but I don't know. Anyways. Okay. Moving on. There should be no barriers to people meeting Jesus. We should not make it difficult. We should bend over backwards and be inventive to help people meet Jesus. Right? One of the things that our denomination, the Alliance, does is they have this thing called New Ventures. And part of the New Ventures thing is how do we make Jesus be the focal point of everything without telling people? Right? Which is cool. It's cool. Hey, do you like some coffee? Because we have a coffee shop that is run by our denomination somewhere. I can't remember where. I think there's a bunch of them. Right? And the whole idea is people just come in and have coffee. And, they talk about Jesus every now and then, right? One of the things that Rob and I started here a couple years back, if you've been for a while, is men's night, right? I noticed, and I was talking with Rob because we used to do this thing many years ago called discussion night, where it was just basically an opportunity for a bunch of guys to sit around, drink too much pop, eat too much chips, and argue about the stupidity of life. It was so much fun. It was great times. So when we came here, I tried to get it going, and it just didn't fly. It was the wrong time, right? And I noticed that a lot of our guys are blue-collar workers. So Friday night, everybody's off, and they're like, well, I'm sitting around, I had a couple people over in the garage, and we're having a beer, and I'm like, why don't we all get together and have a beer together at the pub once a month? We're not going to make it about a Bible study, or we're not going to pick a book to read through and discuss it. But it's funny because the whole idea is to get together, have a meal, share a beer. Well, not share a beer. You don't share a beer. You have your own beer. And inevitably, it always happens. Jesus always comes up. Always. Every single time, Jesus comes up. And then, like, the last time, only 4 people showed up. And I was kind of devastated. I was like, what am I doing? This is nuts. Why am I doing this, right? I realize a lot of it's COVID, right? But I didn't want to, I was not going to do it anymore. And then as we're leaving, Hope and I Hope is going to drive, because I was drinking. Hope was going to drive me and my friend Jax home. And as we're walking out, there's this a young lady who is sitting at the bar with a friend, and she's like, "Are you part of that weird church group that sits in the back?" "Yeah, that's me. That's my weird church group," right? And she's like, "You guys are from that Vox church, right? That likes gay people?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Can I come?" "Yeah." She's like, it's not going to be a problem, right? Like, I have lots of tattoos and a mohawk." And I'm like, "I would totally have a mohawk. Can I have a mohawk? I can't grow any hair. I'm not allowed to have a mohawk." Right? And she's like, "Yeah, but I have tattoos." You're in good company. So do we all. Everybody's got tattoos. If you don't have tattoos, you can't come. I'm just kidding. Creating barriers. We're not allowed to do that. And I sat there for another, Hope was going to kill me, because I stood there for another hour and a half talking with this young lady to make sure that she knew that Jesus loved her. And I wanted to cancel men's night 5 minutes before I walked out. Holy crap, that was so cool. And that happens all the time. Right? Because Jesus is just part of life. It's just part of what happens. It's just part of our daily thing that we do. It's not just Sunday mornings. It's not just going to the temple to sacrifice or do, well, you're not allowed to do that anymore. They get in trouble. There's, SPCA has a problem with that now. It's a thing. Okay. Any suggestions? You just heard a couple ways that we do things to make it accessible for other people to come in and meet Jesus, whether they have been to church or have never been to church, or whether they have a completely different faith. Is there anything that we can do better at Vox as a leadership group? Is there anything that we can do better to make you want to come more and be involved at Sunday morning, or when we are able to do other things? Is there anything else? Is there anything that was like, this kind of, it's a thing, right? I don't expect you to yell it out, because that might be a little bit embarrassing, right? It's like, well, he doesn't wear his kilt enough, so I'm not coming anymore, right? We need more flannel graph, more cowbell. Nathan and Rob is like more Bruins something or other. I don't know. Rob, I don't play or watch tennis, man. I don't know what that is. Okay? It's like 3 people in the back are like, "We're going to crucify him now." So bad. That was bad. That was an off-color joke. Sorry. But no, right? Like, is there anything that we can do better? Tell me. Come and see me. Come and see Heather. Well, don't go and see Nathan, because he's just going to send you to come and see me or Heather, right? Because he's not professional. He doesn't do that stuff anymore. Yeah, so message me or something. Let's make it easier for people to come and meet Jesus and be friends with Jesus and be part of Jesus' life, because, oh my goodness, it's so good. It's so amazing. Sometimes it's crap. Sometimes life is crap, right? But it could be better with Jesus. Aaron picked perfect music for this Sunday morning. I was so excited when I read the song list. It's perfect. So let's move on. Let's bring the worship team up, which is me and Heather, or me and Aaron and Nathan. Nathan's already up here. He's hiding in the back because he's like that. So I'll pray real quick. Thank you, Lord. Thank you, Lord, for a microphone that works so that I can tell people about all this exciting stuff. How exciting it is to meet Jesus. Oh my goodness. Lord, will we kick the door open? Let us kick the door open and knock the walls down and tear down that veil, rip it right from top to bottom. Let people connect. Let people meet you. Let people know you through our actions, Father. Help people meet Jesus whether they know it or not. In Jesus' name, amen.
You are a refuge. You have no borders. When I was a stranger knocking at your door, you took me in with no questions and no conditions. When I was a sinner running from your grace, you called me friend. There are no outsiders to your love. We are all welcome, there's grace enough. When I have wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no outsiders. I'm not an outsider to your love. You are the harbor in every tempest. When my soul was shipwrecked, tossed upon the waves, you calmed the storm. You are the Father, there are no offense. Every tribe and nation gathered in your arms sings with one voice, sing with one voice. There are no outsiders to your love. We are welcome, there's grace enough. When I have wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no outsiders. I'm not an outsider to your love. I was tired, I was far, I was thrown upon your shores. I was hopeless and afraid till I heard you call my name. Now I'm ransomed and restored, resurrected, I am yours. I have walked beside belong, oh my soul has found its home. 'Cause there are no outsiders to your love. We are all welcome, there's grace enough. When I have wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no outsiders. I'm not an outsider. 'Cause there are no outsiders to your love. We are all welcome, there's grace enough. When I have wandered, Lord, your cross is the open door. There are no outsiders. I'm not an outsider to your
So this morning, thank you so much for coming. One of the things that we've also been doing for the last few weeks is I have been ending our services with a benediction. And this morning, I want to end with a scripture that isn't often used as a benediction, or not one of the more popular ones, but one that I think is powerful in the midst of everything that we are going through. And that's Romans chapter 15, verse 13. So as you leave this morning, may the hope May the God of hope fill you with all joy and peace in faith so that you overflow with hope by the power of the Holy Spirit. God bless. We're so glad that you could be here this morning with us in person and online. And we will see you again next Sunday morning, same bad time, same bad channel. God bless.